Uh, I try. YouTube shut off my stream. Let's see if we're going live now. Oh my god. This is too funny. I don't know what happened. YouTube, we used to, there used to be a thing. We used to be able to work together. I used to be able to go live. What happened? What happened, YouTube? Why aren't we working together? Oh man, and why is it that when I go live, I don't see it? This is hilarious. I don't even know if this is streaming to my YouTube channel. It says it. It says it supposedly is. All right, we'll wait. If you can type in the type in the comment box, how's everyone doing? I was live, and then I lost the stream. So me and YouTube, we like, it was like I got all like ready and prepared, and I'm doing this thing, and I don't see anyone. All I see is like everyone from overseas. My stream just shuts down. It's like YouTube. We had a thing for a little while. We could talk. We could converse. We could work together. Hey, at least it's amusing for me. How's everyone doing? All right. It's been a while since I've gone live, and a lot of this in my own awareness is like getting back to things. Yeah, dude. I'll get there. Um, there's a sense of fulfillment and alignment that I've been following, chasing, and pursuing for quite some time, and it always has a redefining value, right? Especially in the face of adversity. And so for myself, there was a chapter, right, of life in which it was easy to do this, and it seems that it has gotten strenuously and strenuously harder. But a lot of that too is as I'm coming back forward into things that I've accepted that the way purpose works in my life is always in alignment, and that there are a multitude of things that I can do that I enjoy doing. And one of those things is tarot, it's oracle, it's checking in on people, it's having friendships, it's having dialogues and discussions. And and I know it's really dark right now. It's just like this is the best I can do with StreamYard. But anyways, is that yesterday I got to go live with some friends for a brief moment, a community that I belong to over on TikTok, and it was so wonderful. And this morning I woke up and it was like, hey, let's do a live stream. So I went and I know to trust StreamYard just a little bit more than to trust just YouTube Live. And I went YouTube Live, and here comes the trolls, and it's just like 99% of the time it's clickbait, it's trolls, it's AI. It's not really anything that wants to sit down and have a general discussion, and we know that, right? A lot of that's just about the numbers. It's the way it is. And then when YouTube just like the feed just shut down, it was just like, oh my gosh, right? And so once in a while, we're finding our way through navigating life, and I think a part of this too about the resilience is being able to have fun on this kind of adventure novel that is life on planet Earth, if we choose to see it that way. And and it's just one of those things that once I think we'll get better acquainted with the algorithm. We'll get better acquainted, and we'll learn it again. I feel it's really funny. It's like I feel like I'm an ancient soul in a technical world, and I just don't know how to fit into this box. I don't know how to talk to a screen, but this feels better. StreamYard feels better. Welcome in, welcome all. Hi, Holly. Yeah, it is kind of trippy. It's funny. It's silly, but it can be a little bit mind warping, which is why I was discussing about the central nervous system, is that we are, myself, life, um, because of awakening and because of all the concepts, theories, philosophy, teachings of others and the quantum can kind of be mind bendy. for quite some time. And then honestly, too, is the fact that a lot of us, I know myself, I'll only speak for myself, I have unsubscribed from a certain way of life. And anytime I come back to this kind of arena or this experience or this platform, things can kind of be a little bit weird, which can make it feel stifled for those of us who like to show up and like to be of assistance, but also need to take care of our inner child. We need to take care of our central nervous system. We need to take care of ourselves. Is it can kind of feel a little bit all over the place at times. So back to where we're at with the cards. Between worlds, transitionary energy, right? Avoid the noid and be the glitch. Every day is different. It is. Every day is different now. Holly, thank you for having a little dialogue with me. This is important to me. Is that every day is different, which means that there's not a one size fits all way reality works. And I've assembled enough information to say internally to say I don't know shit. And I need to live like that. I need to continue to allow trust to guide through intuitive action. And also the inner listening, right back to the inner compass, knowing that it's always just a weaving. It's a gentle weaving. And every day is different. And that as a result can be like, well, how do I harmonize to my inner song when everything is different? And a lot of this right now is life is kind of like a buffet. Or let's say, let's also let's consider this a little bit more like a palette, right? A palette of experiences through choice. And a lot of that gives us an opportunity. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we, for me, that's the diamond, right? The diamond is so many really wonderful fractals and frames and perspectives that all of them give us an opportunity to hear the inner voice of the quantum, but also too is about working through at times difficult emotions in what that is to not have a rigid, linear, and structured way of life. Like for myself, as much as I try to do life in a here's the routine and here's the pattern, sometimes it doesn't fit like that because of, once again, what does my inner child need that day? Because I do listen to that inner voice. What do my emotions need? What helps to provide sustainability? What helps to provide stability? And also, what's in alignment that helps me to feel like I'm not getting knocked in the head by creator? Because there is these subtle kind of like crunches and knowings from within me that I might not be in an alignment that's super fulfilling for me, and as a result I can feel that, right? Like I can feel that depression, or I can feel that kind of at some level I'm still sacrificing in my alignment and what that fulfillment means. But I'm also transcending identity over what my dream or my purpose is, because that too was built upon wounded motivation. It was built upon masks. It was built upon illusion. And when the illusion falls, who are we on the other side of that? That's what it's like to be a part of this consciousness change within our own journey. And so a part of this has been like, okay, let's hey, Bravery, how's it going? Thank you. Yeah, it is good now. Thank you. I'm gonna go grab very quickly. I need to grab my plug for my computer. I'll be right back and we'll keep going. Okay. How's this? There we go. Yeah, I've got your nose. I'm feeling good, actually. I'm about to move. We're currently packing up and moving to California for a little while. So we got an offer to go move into a home, and so life on the road is ending for me. So I'm moving into an actual house in California, and I'm excited. And so as a result, that's why a part of this showing up is happening now too, is it's like there was this trajectory of learning about life, abundance, work, in which I had, side jobs and things that I did. But during that time, there was still this like, the purpose driven life. And the purpose driven life for myself has been about like that's a part of my inner child dream ever since I was a kid. Always feeling like I needed to do something that had purpose. It's also really built into my astrology, but there's been a lot of transcending identity behind what that is and the lessons of life. And so when my soul chose this yuga chapter, which was very big, like let's just disassemble everything. Let's just disassemble it all. Let's like, hey Corey, all this stuff that was a part of your journey, your dream come true, your wish fulfillment, all these things. Let's just take it and let's just tear it apart. Let's tear it all apart. More than one, yeah, one. But oh my God, Holly, thank you. Yes, that is a big one. Having an actual house is really exciting right now. So a part of this has been in really, really clearing a lot of the identities behind what I have a peer that I work with, and she calls it wounded motivation. And so within that was like, let's look at the layers behind, let's look at the why, let's look at the causation, let's get to the root. And a part of this is continuing the journey where I can go through and work through some of the deeper layers of why life was so disruptive, why I had so many curveballs, why things occurred. And a lot of that gives opportunity to regain solution and back to why the nervous system regulation is really important, because a part of this awakening is that life isn't what it was. Life isn't what I thought it was. Like, I followed this. Yeah, we're making a fifth dimensional shift and we're going to get to 5D consciousness and New Earth is here and all of these things. And now there's been a lot of grieving the chapters in believing that this awakening or this ascension is occurring a certain way, but then also to not fixating on that. Like that too needs to be let go, because the humbling experiences is I don't know. That's important. Me being okay not knowing gives me an opportunity to continue to build, right? A sense of healthy level of consciousness of what my inner compass says to be true, which is a part of that discernment. But also too is it's like life has been in a lot more of a greater plateau because I needed to come back to human. So it wasn't the stretch for, right, higher consciousness. It wasn't the stretch for all these things. There's a natural and organic alignment to a soul level of Corey and clearing all the identities behind all those things, because a lot of those were still masks, right? And when I hit that wound of where the original wounded motivation was, all those identities had to clear, which is why there's been many times where it's like, what is true, right? And how do we guide people when we're still in an illusion ourselves? And so we work with our inner selves, but we can show up and support. We can extend a loving hand, right? We can be there for other people. We can show compassion. We can learn from one another. We can build healthy levels of relationships, and we can even co-create. We can have fun. We can play, right? So I guess the dialogue with my universe has changed, and it didn't feel good. But that's the exact reason why. Is we had to touch the not so nice feelings about life and about reality and about religions and about history and so much more. And so now a part of this shift has been the realignment of like, okay, so I know that I have a template from within that we would call my soul. And I'm navigating life through this kind of omnidirectional phase of my journey and living day to day. Like Holly said, every day is a different day. And I've got your nose like we're 5-year-olds, like so true. And a part of that is because I know for myself, I'm being guided and aligned. And a part of that guidance is about sometimes navigating pathways and activating solutions that don't feel comfortable, but are very much so gently, lovingly guiding me. But I might not see that for a couple months or a couple weeks or even a couple years. And so a part of this transformational lens and transformational energies is that I've had more stubborn conditions and experiences to shift and more to clear, especially when it comes to behavioral health, things like this, and then seeing myself outside of that experience as well. Because we all have to face difficult emotions in reality. That's human life. And then so returning to a sense of balance, equilibrium, and inner harmony has been important. So, how are you guys all doing? Hey, Jen. So, yeah, we tried to go live, went funky, and now we're back here. We're back here. So, the card that I pulled earlier was Between Worlds, right? Transitional energy, walking forward to, but it's also a pendulum, right? So, there is this kind of like in between that gives you an opportunity to take actions and to step beyond or step into or to step forward. Yes, redefining your you. Very much so. Thank you guys for sharing what you see. And so as a result, right, is that there is this sense that when we take action, ooh, borderline anxiety. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Thank you, Bravery. Anxiety's been a big one. Take a moment to breathe really deep in and breathe out. All right. Take a moment to just breathe. We're going to stop breathing for a second and go into the anxiety thing. So, our nervous system has been going through a lot. And I was just talking about this earlier. So I apologize if this is repetitive in nature, but I want to share this because of what has been happening with kind of the influxes that have been coming through and what happens energetically to our own body. Is that our spark, right? Our soul. Our spark that aligns our soul when it comes online more, or we have more greater ambient light available in our trajectory internally, our nervous system can go through a lot. And so the bigger thing about this has been about hearing what that truth is stating for us. And if that mantra is like, hey, I don't feel safe, right? Or hey, I am anxious, that emotion that comes through in our central nervous system is also a teacher. It's a guide. And that's been a part of what the local human identity is going through in clearing whether it's suffering, whether it's becoming one with its own emotional health, but also what helps us to really slow down the process and to not like I've had to learn when it comes to my nervous system, don't try to change it. Listen to it and honor that. Honor that feeling that's coming up. So breath work's been really important. Another thing that really, really, really helps too has been Ayurvedic hot oil massages. Helps me a lot. And so at night, get some like coconut oil, warm it, and get it on your body and get back into a space of feeling safe. My body holds a lot of tension. And that's because life itself, okay, has been filled with so much distraction that we haven't been fully able to listen to the body and soften up and relax. So if our body's in survival mode, right? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. We're learning on how to soften the condition of the body, of the nervous system, and everything once again to create that expansion. Like even myself today, the reason why I'm doing this is because this helps my nervous system to stretch as well because there's things that I want to do. And as I choose those alignments for myself is also that I have to face those things that come up, whether it's insecurity, whether it's trauma, whatever has been sparking and igniting, but we can create an expansion in our nervous system through exposing ourselves safely and comfortably, guiding ourselves lovingly to that space, breathing into that, and then just expanding. See, little hot tub, that works perfect. Yep, baby steps, exactly. And also, too, is your central nervous system is a direct communication link to your entire body. So that means our brainwave state affects every organ. It is a part for myself, it's so close to the heart, like the deeper central nervous system that I feel is always right next to my heart and high heart, which is a part of this expansion, right? But it's how can we soften and honor that moment? And so, like, even myself having to learn how to embrace myself fully. Hand on the heart, one hand on the stomach, and just embrace self love, right? That sense of nurturing, becoming attuned to your own inner awareness, right? And expanding from there. Yep. Yep. It does make sense. Our body goes through a lot. Our body goes through a lot. Mine too. And a part of this is like, well, as much as I want to continue to be an X, Y, or Z, and I say X, Y, or Z because those are all identities that I wore, like, the healer, the shaman, the practitioner, all these things, is it's like in a reciprocal reality, you can't take care of others unless you learn to take care of yourself. And I've had to learn about this as well through the light influxes, facing a lot of mortality in the body, having to very much so learn to take care of itself in a brand new way, which is why asking questions has been really important. I've been guided to some wonderful groups of people who are doing this discussion with EFT tapping, breath work, and it's helped me a lot. So yes, anxiety's been coming up for myself as well. And breath work has been really important, and also listening to the inner harmonic. And the inner harmonic is that we all have an inner song. And we can tune to that through our subtle knowing, through our breath. Thank you, Holly, for sharing that. Thank you, guys. Please, I love how interactive this community can be. So please keep sharing your insight. But yeah, the anxiety has been going through what it's been going through, seeing it, and then also too has been there's been a fine tuned dialing when I'm in survival mode, when my body needs to move through, like go for a jog, go for a run, go for a walk, or when it needs to learn to calm down. Which there hasn't been a one size fits all method for this, but it has definitely been a part of that. That sometimes the doing energy can be from a space of not wanting to face something internally. And sometimes it's about facing what this emotion is and knowing that the emotion itself can be faced and it can be transmuted, it can be transfigured. That's been really important. Okay, Jen, I haven't felt this empty in forever. I have a POS car, and if I leave my job, I lose all my income. I don't know what to do, but living like this is pathetic for me at a loss. If I just leave, I'm homeless again. If I stay and my spiritual health continue to degrade, I've asked my guides for years, but still no answer. Jen, you're not alone. I know, and I say you're not alone because there's an experience here that I've been having as well that gives me an opportunity to first off is the thing I want to come through is zoom out because the local identity is very much so focused on this how. And that in itself, if it's really bringing in more fear, then that's the fear that can be very consumptive. And I know what it's like to have this kind of argument, right? Because I too, like for myself, the biggest frustration is that I've listened to many and have felt misunderstood in this experience in regards to the fact that, like, yeah, we have this life that can continue to feel like an enslavement or a prison system in which we continue to degrade. But also too is that I know for myself there has been a level of escapism that occurred for myself. I can only speak for myself, in which I believed at some level that my spiritual reality couldn't join in that experience because I allowed this external experience to continue to affect me. So I had to find my confidence and my consciousness from within that space, which was a very big test. And the other thing about this, Jen, is about the action plan. right? That we create to better our lives. Because I know for myself, there are unfortunate circumstances that I too have had to accept about my life. And a really great podcast that just came through today. It showed up the other day. I'll link it in here if you want to watch it. Is It's Mel Robbins, and it was Mel Robbins with Rich Roll, and it's called An Episode for Anyone Feeling Behind in Life. The other thing too is that I know for myself has been that the friction here is in what I would call the cultural template, the societal template, and then the personal template, which means the soul's configuration over how life is lived is sometimes in great contrast to the way society says that is. And those two have a disagreement. They have an argument. So here's society life. Get up, get a job, do the thing, all this stuff, right? Yes, the one with Gabor is really good. I love Gabor Mate. Great. And then there is the personal soul configuration of life. And when those two don't match, it is about what's creating that change. The biggest thing here, Jen, that I want to reverberate to you is that the tenacity to continue to make the change will occur. But it requires us to get up and to get life done in that way. And some days are easier and some days are harder, and I recognize that. So the best thing here that I can share is to keep working from your space of integrity. I know for myself, self-love has been a very, very, very big, important thing. And also recognizing that this really can recognize where things kind of deplete us and where things fulfill us. And that contrast is also showing us. All of these things inner teachers. And those inner teachers are gifting us an opportunity, right? To like take a step back, reevaluate, take action in a new way. Sometimes I know for myself, I've put myself in situations where I had to break down a lot more contrast and polarity in my reality to get comfortable. And I also had to find a greater level of acceptance over what it would take to get life done. But that too changed. If you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. I don't mind doing readings one-on-one or talking to you one-on-one if you ever need that. So please feel free to reach out if you feel like that support is aligned for you. But the bigger thing too here is the empowerment of choice for you, because I have a lot of friends who are kind of going through, I say a lot of friends, but we all go through this kind of like, this isn't working, this is supposed to work, how do we do this? Self-empowerment and choice being really, really, really important. And integrity of your soul. Because I've seen this with other people too, where they might not choose the most material fulfilling life path, even though I'm aware that we need that support and resources to thrive here on planet Earth. But sometimes it is about our peace of mind and peace of heart. And so there is a big trust the process that's occurring for you. And remember that you are very capable of saving yourself and alleviating the situation. But sometimes it is about, yeah, like it's like we too have to look at our blind spots and find out and navigate pathways of unknowns where we don't know where it will lead us. And I found it was a little while ago, I was watching an interview with Dustin Kensrue from Thrice, and he was stating that faith is trust in action. And he was saying like you can step back and see a chair and see it's stable, but you don't have faith in that chair until you actually sit in it. And so sometimes the thing for us is that we won't be saved or rescued, but rather we will take action from that space of trust, and we know it's going to work out exactly as it's supposed to. Yep. Ooh, brave. Ooh. He said a brilliant quote that most of our trauma doesn't come from the event, but it comes from being alone and not feeling safe after the trauma event happened. Very true. Very true. David, I like this. Bringing it back to the now is important, so we don't live too much in the past and too much in the future. Being in the now, that present space opens up a lot of opportunities. The other thing too is that, Jen, there is a sense that from the space of constriction, it might be harder to see, which is why zooming out and stepping into observation is going to be very important. We can get caught up in a lot of the details of what goes on in life. And I've done this too. It's stories and narratives I told myself. And when I release the judgment over the story and the narrative that I tell myself about others, about my external reality, about my life, about my day-to-day process, the more I recognize that I've needed more heart than I've needed mind. And that solution has been getting kind of very, very, very quote unquote louder. And to make sure that I too have an inner barometer to check, to gauge where I'm at in my own headspace, and that if I'm going into a fear loop, how do I get into a space of love loops, right? Like getting back into the love and not allowing the fear loop to dominate. Because of the fact that when we take control over our mind again, we start activating the ability to create new thought and new intention. So like, for as an example, there was another Mel Robbins podcast in which she was talking about the morning routine. And I had a sister who was sharing these intentions with us for the day. And these are the daily affirmations I wrote and I choose to share with myself every morning. And it's, today is going to be a great day. Something cool is going to happen to me today. No matter what happens today, I can handle it. An exciting new chapter is beginning today. I need to give myself more credit for how hard I'm trying. I'm allowed to be a work in progress, keep showing up, and I know life will reward me, and I have an important contribution to make to this world. And a part of that was choice. Choice in which I choose to say to myself, and I too have moments where I can forget because I can get caught in the identity of like, oh yeah, I'm a hopeless X, Y, or Z, or like, I'm a blah 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 blah. Once again, identities can have stories. And for myself, a lot of those stories are things that I invested time and energy into. And then I have to go, are these things really working for me? Are these, it's like kind of saying, like, are these clothes too tight? Are they too loose fitting? Do they fit just right? And a part of this had been about, in the taking control of my mind, is something that I've had to share out loud because it can be so easy to allow these stories to influence in what the inner dialogue is. And I knew I needed to change the inner dialogue, but no one was going to change it for me. I know that within myself, internally validating my innermost self versus expecting someone else to validate me has been really important, which means that most of my loneliness stems from the fact that there is something from within me that has yet to be seen from within myself, which means that I can no longer ignore Corey. And Jen, you can no longer ignore Jen. Got to listen to Jen. Jen is with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Jen is always with you. Jen is working with you. From day one to the very end, Jen is always working with you. And so the more that you accept, love Jen, and work with Jen, Jen will work with you. But at some level, I know for myself, like there are parts of Corey that I couldn't work with because of parental condition, because of culture, because of society, because of money, right? And all of those things were helping me to ignore an inner voice of truth that I really, really, really needed to listen to. And I needed to stop dampening and suppressing that voice. I really needed to listen to that. I needed to hear Corey again. Just as Jen needs to listen to Jen. And I want to say that because Jen is her own guide. Like here on planet Earth, like, yes, we have really wonderful, celestial things that show up for us. But there's at the end of the day, it don't mean shit without Jen, because Jen is the human, Jen is the form, Jen is the body, Jen is the vehicle of this experience. And Jen's dialogue saying, Jen, Siri says turn right here, but society says turn left. And that's where we're in conflict. And so when Jen says turn right, can you trust that when Jen's telling you to turn right, that she's asking you nicely to turn right for a reason? And can Jen trust Jen's directions? regardless of what others think, regardless of opinions, regardless of stories that we tell ourselves as well, which is a part of like that having to clear the identity of the story to remember the solution is Jen. Jen, you are the solution. And giving back to yourself is really important. Okay. Yeah, Holly, you're right on. That nostalgia to me had been calling on an experience in which strength was there. You know, like I know for myself, this nostalgia for myself was very much so bringing in where I was calling in kind of like a power totem or a sense of happiness. Like it was a recalling of a memory and it was a nice thing. But also too is it can keep us in that past loop. Now, nostalgia can have its contrast of emotions, whether this is something surfacing from a past event that's to be cleansed or to be reclaimed because it's fractal work, it's parts work. But also too is that I do know that there are future things in which is keeping the human like this when what we need is a little more of this. Because we aren't in control over what others do, but we're in control and in direct command over what we do, right? And so this gives us an opportunity to release the tension from what is, but to propagate in our own awareness. And I too have had to very much so simplify and just listen to my own inner direct dialogue. And to fully trust the process that I'm inside of, especially when I intend for something to occur. Like for example, I'm going to talk about personal manifestations. I see people that are asking themselves, or no, I see people, excuse me for this. I see people who are in a process where they want something from their life, but it's not there yet. And from a very zoomed out and observant perspective, it's like, why wouldn't that occur for you? Especially if you want it, I don't want to say bad enough, but you want it enough that it will become a part of that experience. And that the only way it's going to happen is through action and through alignment. And sometimes that thing we want isn't necessarily the thing that we necessarily need in the stages of where we're heading to. And that's a part of what I've had to learn in my own journey too, is the part of the letting go and the transcending identity and the illusion stuff, letting go has been important. But if you're meant to get there, you're going to get there. And it might not be an overnight process. It might even be a 12-year process, but you're going to get there. And so this is about not judging the jump that you're taking or what's kickstarting that trajectory to happen and to allow it to unfold. Because I know for myself, I've seen manifestations show up and things I intended years ago that show up, and I'm like, God, that took a while, and it took a lot of stubborn hits to my self-esteem. It took a lot of blows to my confidence, but it's because my human needed my soul to teach me like that, right? And so, like, sometimes I had to be the Raggedy Ann doll that was just getting kind of ping-ponged by reality because I had no internal direction. I didn't have integrity. I was scattered. I was all over the place, and I was also in memories and traumas that I needed to face, right? But there are those moments of reprieve that still occur. And a lot of this too is about like health and healing is a reconnective process, right? This is one thing I've learned about healing. Healing itself is a reconnective process. So at mind, body, soul, it's reconnecting to those places. It's mind reconnecting to body, which is a part of that central nervous system. It's the inner dialogue, right? It can be soul connecting to mind, soul connecting to body. It's a reconfiguration of life through reconnection. And that reconnection process also connects to things within me that no longer serve. Sometimes I'm connecting to things that don't feel good, and I need to create that space and that time to process out what's going on in that specific area of my body or my consciousness that relates to my overall well being. And As a result, the reconnection process isn't overnight. Because for me to get the hint, for me to clear what I need to clear or to shift, it's not about time. It's not about how quick I get there. Because that's still very much so kind of like the way reality has worked. I almost want to say, like, time doesn't really care about Corey, but there is a sense of when faced with like mortality and age and things like this is what can really affect us. And I recognize that at a soul level, measurements can have a drastic, dense effect on the form, including your age range in comparison to culture, in comparison to our parents, in comparison to others. Same thing, when we recognize what it is, we can begin to work with that, not against that. And so we're looking at the restriction of that. And that change in choice can begin today. And that's a part of listen to that podcast. Jen, it's a really good podcast. And anyone else who's been affected by time and feeling like you're starting late. I know from a lot of my transformative years or my big formidable years where I could have gotten up and gotten life done and paid off. I wasn't doing that. I was doing other things. And so as a result, there's no one to blame other than to be accountable that my soul chose those lessons to grow and to learn. But I can't let my age define. I cannot let my age get in the way. I can transcend that too. Yeah, exactly. Echoes of feelings that just want you to tell a new story. Exactly. Because we're getting tired of that. Agreed. This is a cool conversation. Good. Good, Jen. Ah, keep focusing on that abundance. This has been a rewrite for myself too, is accepting that abundance comes in all forms. Um, that if I believe money's hard, that's a big one. And I still have to remember that is like when I allow my thought form to go or my idea or my identity to go, hey, here's the reason why, right? Because we want to forgive the pattern too, is the fact that like there has been like I've seen these formulas and recipes for life that continue to not work out, and I still have, and it's a really deeply ingrained parental family thing, which is like you got to work hard to get money, which I have to continue to forgive. Um, or like this one right here is you can't afford it, like you're never going to have that thing. You can't get it. And that grasping or that energy that we spend in consistently reaching and not getting there, it can hurt, and also at times it can feel overwhelming. So I too have had to reframe this narrative about money and how money shows up for me. Like for example, right? Like little things is I had a sister a while ago that used to do money walks, and so she would go out and she would try to manifest money on her own through money walks. So for myself, what I've found is that money does show up in very obscure ways, but I have to let it in, which means someone giving me a tip, right? There was something a little while ago here at the RV park, which I have my set income, right? I work this many hours a week, I get paid this much, and then I look at that and I go, that's how much I make. That's all I'm worth. But then there are other things, there are options, there's opportunities to create abundance in other ways, and I have to keep those pathways open for myself. So for instance, one of this was a lady a lady needed me to help her dump her black tank, which means I had to clean her poop bucket. She gave me a $20 bill. It wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't hard, and it's not difficult work. It's gross to do, but like, so what? And so I cleared her dump tank and she gave me a $20 bill. Now that right there. Now once again, this isn't the $1,000. This isn't the $2,000. This isn't the fucking $45,000 for a house, which I know can feel like a big jump. But it's those little moments that start to activate hope. Once again, trust in action. Say yes to those things, even if it feels uncomfortable. What happens, right? We start training the nervous system to feel okay and accepting abundance and rewards for doing things. But also, too, money can come through in kind of funny and bizarre ways. and we can have fun with that quirk of life. That money doesn't just have to come from this formulaic cultural pattern, which is, by the way, I'm still working through the same thing, right? Is it's like when I look, when Corey goes, how do I get to that, the home, the car, and all those things? The first thing I see is I got to go to college, right? I got to get some big career, right? Like lawyer or frickin' whatever it is, right? And I got to do this thing. And that's my map of life. That's my map of life. So right there, that's the genetic patterning I'm still holding, which is like, thank you, ancestors, for showing me and guiding me. But there's a new way, right? There's a new way built on the now, not on the ancestral pattern. Back to what David's been saying about now changes everything. Is that through choice, I can go, oh, wait a minute, there are other ways to make money. I can get to where I need to go easily, but I also have to continue to be aware of that conditioning that says I can't. And I have to start telling myself that, yes, I actually can. I can. So this has been a big one, has been not allowing the delusion and illusion of money is hard to get in the way. And when I see it, I go, oh, aha, thank you. Pattern shown, accepted, transfigured immediately. Money's easy. And if money isn't easy, money is getting easy. Money's getting easier, which means that I'm not in that full fulfilled alignment. I don't feel it all the way yet, but money's getting easier. And then pretty soon that mantra will go to money's easy. Abundance is easy. And the one that has been helping me has been the word financial security. Because at the end of the day, it's just wanting to feel safe and secure in my own form. And secure, cure. What is cure? Cure heals an ailment. What's the ailment? Lack. So if I am secure, curing that financial security, then I am curing my financial blocks by activating and remembering that I can be financially secure, which means I can stabilize my root chakra. Right? I can feel like I can drop my shoulders. I can drop all my fears. I can just allow. And when I know that the universe is supporting me, that my reality is supporting me feeling financially secure, oh gosh, what happens? Healing begins. We're out of survival mode. We can now trust the process. And telling this to our body allows the muscles to unfold organically. Like, I just felt so much weight drop. I felt it was just grounded right in. Wow, I am financially secure. Whoa. Now, the fear is in the details of how it shows up. Mind can get in the way. Okay, mind, I see you. You're detail oriented. You want to figure it out. Right? But hey, mind, you can let go. We can tap this one out. I'm abundant. Financially supported. You can trust the process. Right? Start tapping in those mantras. Which, by the way, I'm not an EFT expert. I just have people who do this, and I'm inspired by it, and it's showing up right now. Right? I'm financially secure. Right? Because the thing is, too, is that your meridians, your nervous system, your entire body is catching up to this belief. Because once again, Jen might go into money. Well, I got to go to work, right? And I got to appease the boss, and I got to do all these things, and I got to give away a sense of my authority and power. No, you don't. You don't. But then how do we get there? And that's where we begin to trust the process. So I get it. And by the way, I'm not downing a job, because like even myself, like I'm moving into a space where I have a job, but it's a cool job. It's a cool job that I'm moving to. I'm excited. So right there, you hate money. That's a big one. And I don't want to go into law of attraction and manifestation stuff, because I'm not, but like even thinking about that, like that is the one thing that's going to push anything away. And if I build a relationship to anything in my life path, including others, if I say I hate something, I'm literally, right? We're starting to get very clear on what the inner dialogue is. And I understand there's a whole box of what money is represented in our life path, right? But there are people who do good things with money. And money is like, sadly, a part of accepting, and I say sadly, but like accepting Western society is money is a part of our value system. And yeah, it's going through its change. We have those people that are like, let's bring in the gold back dollar and all this stuff. I'm not going to get into that, because that's not my job, not my journey. It's not my forte. It's not my strong suit. I'm not going to get into talks about Bitcoin and all that stuff. But money is a necessary resource to live here in Western society. Now, yes, we have third way and third wave options where people are doing things where they can live life without money. If you do that, awesome. But we understand a greater part of the collective and the greater part of society is using this resource as an ability to create transactional exchange. So we either fight it with all we've got and we rebel it, or we accept it. That's all your personal choice. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You know what's right for you. Please follow your inner truth and your inner dialogue. But a part of accepting that is we learn to work with it. And I too have had to do that. Like I was the homeless kid rebelling and being like, F you, F the money, and I see all you fucking all the stories. Because why I was upset. The story was actually showing me in opposition, which I'm still upset about life, which means that I'm in fear, I'm sad. And that too needed to have its space, place, and time in my own inner journey to be recognized. That was a shadow saying, hey, you're not loving me, you're not seeing me, see me. See me, love me. And then through choice, if you want to, choose the reframe. And the thing is too is Jen, you're right just as you are as well. Like everything you're feeling and going through is extremely valid. This is just another way. Like everything in your dialogue extreme, and I hear you and I see you and I also feel, I know what it's like. And at times this is why help from others can gift us a loving, gentle, like, hey, look over here. Because we're the ones that's keeping this dialogue alive, and you can shift it. You can change it. There you go. See? Check this out. See how quickly you reframe that? I make peace with money and I gratefully accept it in my life to help me reach my goals. There you go. There you go. It is possible. And so a part of this, like this transitional energy, this between worlds energy, is through free will choice. I do know that there is a lot more light available in the field that is bringing in this opportunity to occur. But I really want to get out of believing that light is going to save me. My own higher self doesn't save me anymore because like when I got the download happened maybe a year ago, and it was like, hey, Corey, give yourself a few years. Okay. You need to save yourself. Don't expect someone to save you or to rescue you. You need to learn to work through this. And it was like, oh shit. And it's really hard because it means that people can't rescue me from my emotions. It means I need to empower myself to work and to do all these things, but I also need to process this because I too am going through this. Well, if no one's going to save me, if I'm not going to, how do I do this? And I have to be gentle and compassionate and easy on myself while this process is occurring, which is why this is a pendulum moment of between worlds, which is about choice, because I know dimensionality and reality is built upon choice. It's not just automatically granted. And I've seen so many shades, colors, hues, and bandwidths of life and reality and multidimensionality that all of them serve a point in the greater theme of working through contrasts and dimensions, but it was choice. It was choice. And so between worlds is like, what steps can I take to better my life? I say better, but like, or afford myself more solutions, right? Fairy sneezes. I only have to repeat it 5 million times until I believe it. 17 seconds to reprogram. I remember that one. It was look in the mirror every morning. Say this to yourself, this mantra, 17 seconds. Thank you. And yeah, and that is the thing, is that there are things that I've noticed about myself, which is a part of the same nostalgia that Holly was bringing in, and you know, same very general discussion, which is that the past self can have a direct impact and influence in our day-to-day activity, which is why we go into some of that wound work, some of that trauma work, some of that shadow work. And you don't have to do that work alone. If you do, awesome. But also, you know, myself, like I do shadow work by myself, but I have people, right, that I work with. And I've needed to, because I can't do a lot of that work alone. And it's just because of what I've had to work through in my own journey. That's just my own personal opinion. And that's been between therapy, having a physical doctor, and working with people that have energetic and emotional experience to assist. So like well-rounded. I had to stop giving all of my, I guess I'd say, authority to just like, don't trust the doctors, don't trust, everyone's got solutions. And there are new therapists right now that are online and activated that understand consciousness and understand us. So when you talk to them, they get you. It's no longer very institutional. There's been a lot of really cool stuff happening that's been transforming that entire industry, and I'm really excited for that. Oh, awesome. Nice. So there is this sense of like, you take action on the life path of your own choosing. And when I see between worlds, I see better world. And that better world is something that you define and redefine, because like good and bad is still dual, right? And for me, better, I know better for myself is a life outside of suffering. One in which I'm well equipped with the tools to handle anything in life, that I can actually engage with life on life's terms, but I can also redefine or remap myself at any point in time. So between worlds is like, yeah, light, the higher level of illumination has a factor on that which we can see about our innermost truth, which means sometimes we're seeing things we don't really like to see. But there's also this propagation of choice in the opportunity to step through or to step beyond. And that's through action. That's through an energy more of like, of doing, but it's not doing to the point of stressing. It's sometimes that repetitive internal recognition of what's best for us is what helps. So sometimes it's like that affirmation work. Yes. Oh my gosh. Invest in a joke of the day calendar just for shits and. Okay. Humor's been really important. I too recently just got back to a little bit more scrolling. Hey, Phil. Yeah, brother. I'm doing collective work, but I'll give you a card for sure. And by the way, thank you for the shirts. FedEx tried to get me for FedEx is trying to get me right now for import taxes or something. I gotta call them, but thank you, guys. Check out Phil. Go over, support him. He's got some really cool shirts up on his website. Phil, if you want to put your link in here, I'd greatly appreciate it. He's got some really, just go. So I love supporting people who are doing what they're doing, and I support him over on YouTube as well. He's got some really cool videos. Just go check him out. Wonderful gentleman, and really do appreciate what you're doing, brother. Really do. Yeah, I did get them. I got the rose, and I got the purple Lyran, and I'm stoked. So thank you. So back to this. Yeah. So there is this. Yeah, I know the import taxes are ridiculous. So we're in this transitionary energy, and this is about action in alignment, but also too is light is illuminating, right? Perhaps this can be showing us our own schisms. They fit, but I'm a fat boy. So I need to speak nicely to myself. I gained a lot of weight in the last year, and so I'm about to move to Cali, and that's when life's gonna get a little bit easier. I'm investing in a gym membership, and I need to do more fasting. You know what? I'm gonna message you sometime. I'm gonna ask you about fasting a little bit more, because yeah, I'm a big boy now. So they fit. I'm just kidding. I got my belly bumps clearing. So anyways, is that there are schisms of the past that are still affecting the future, right? And a part of that is being okay with the action steps we take to heal that or to perpetuate, right? Like if we want to call it, our better self. I'm getting out of the vernacular of higher and lower, just because it's still measured, and I do see it as hierarchical. But there are still moments in which higher dimensional consciousness is ingraining our planet through, right, solar flares, right? That has a great effect on the field and the undulations of our own energy body and all of those activations coming through. I do believe that's occurring. And we can see the core magnetic shifts that occur. We can actually see that dialed in through Schumann resonance and stuff like that. But there is also about personal choice here that I want to bring in through, because it's not always, we don't have to be a slave to light and a slave to energy. We can also use our inner toolkit towards taking action towards things that gives us an opportunity to propagate new solutions in our own journey. And it's mind, body, soul. It's that entire being coming back online and working with what this solution is. So this in itself is propagating what it is to get into this next space of our journey. And to trust that process, to have faith in the design of life, to have faith in God, trust source. Like if you are someone who is still actively engaging with spirituality and you're working within that, this is about trust and faith. This is trust the process, right? And trust what you know to be true, because the other thing too is a part of this like dialogue and schism work that I'm seeing is that some of us are really breaking out of dogmas, religions, new age, and things that really had an effect on us because we're starting to see things in a different way. And I'm not going to say that it is good or bad, but it was necessary in alignment. So source doesn't judge us. We're the ones that judge ourselves. And then we've also created books of judgment in which we've followed these belief systems of what aligns us back to the universe or to unity, to all those really wonderful things about ourselves. So this is giving you an opportunity to have trust in this transitionary energy and what it's bringing you to. But please take action on that which you know to, because I've known for myself, the only way that I stabilize and integrate what's on the other side of between worlds, it required action. It required routine. It required embodiment. It required me to say yes, and it required my body to know that the more I say yes, the more that trust and faith begins to propagate, because it's more than just listening to the compass, but it's taking action on that which I know to be true as well. That's one thing I've noticed about my personal journey is it's like I can know it. I can theorize it, but am I grounding in it and practically applying it in my day-to-day life? Which is why Between the Worlds was talking to us about this pendulum swing, but also the action steps you can take towards getting into that better world and trusting the process, right? And a part of that is having trust through intuitive and implied action and listening to your innermost truth and your innermost dialogue to guide you perfectly. Because we can all be guides for one another, but at some level, you listening to your authentic and internal voice is truly, truly, truly important. It's really important, because it's activating internal state of awareness of self-empowerment in the journey moving forward, and trusting your compass versus the compass of others. But I still navigate where I listen to other people, and I do that, but it gives you an opportunity to really see yourself just as you are, as a really beautiful beacon of light, right, who can trust and have faith in the process, and that which is illuminating and awakening from within you, right, that key, right, that conscious and unconscious knowing itself more, this dialogue with God. Yeah, living life in Technicolor part. Yes, thank you, Holly. Thank you. I like Technicolor. I like Technicolor life. And then, yeah, there we go. See, and the loyal heart gives you an opportunity, right, to really practice what that integrity is to your own true. Perhaps these are things that really matter to you. This can be relationships, right? Loyal heart, it's others. God. In the past, for me, it was staying loyal to the foil. And that's something I had to disagree with. I heard loyal to the foil, and God, we're going to transmute that entire thing. This is about continuing to trust your inner heart, right? To choose love, to choose your own heart chakra, to choose your own inner compass, to choose the connection with your innermost solution. This, at the end of the day, is saying stay true to who you are, regardless of what's going on in the world. Because life's navigations points can have us giving away a little bit of our power towards others or whatever it is. Just stay fine-tuned to all that you are. Trust. Trust, trust, trust. There's something about you being able to authentically share your truth and your loyalty that's important, because it has an effect on reality. It has an effect on this transition period. It has an effect on this awakening. A life redefined beyond masks and veils. And I think a part of this is recognizing at some level, knowing your own masks and being grateful for what they were helps you to reveal something about your innermost self. And so this is being able to objectively listen to your innermost truth and what you choose. Begin in the now. Begin in the now. And then open up to what this heart is. There's something about the heart never leaves you, and you never leave the heart. The heart never leaves you. You never leave the heart. The heart will always lead you. The heart will always guide you. From your time of being born here on planet Earth, you had a heart chakra. You had a heart. You had love. But love got obstructed by things. Programs, relationships, learning, hiding, silo, isolating, not looking within, not taking a moment to show gratitude, right? So even when you forget about your heart has already forgiven you. It's forgiven the identity. It's forgiven your problems. It's forgiven your solutions. It's forgiven your entire being. It just wants you to choose it again. So the more you choose your heart, the more love shows up and expresses through the form. And even if you forget the heart, you forget your love, it's okay. You can go back there at any point in time. You can choose love now. Right? Love's already forgiven everything. Love has completely wiped the slate. But what happens is we do have things that obstruct our view. We have things that obstruct our heart. We have things that obstruct our integrity because we do have a life of distraction. We have a life of distraction. And it's a part of the double-edged sword of the way life is. We have computers, we have social media, we have relationships, we have friends, we have jobs, we have careers, we have television, we have vacations, we have money, we have all these things. We have video games, right? We have businesses, we've got, so much. And that's a part of the free will choice of life, right? 7 of Cups energy. But we know that not every cup is healthy for us because that's what free will choice has been in our journey, right? So you can come back to choosing your heart at any point in time, and you can express your integrity. You can express your love. You can express your loyalty to, your soul, to your life free of illusion and masks. You can choose love at any point in time. So when you forget, it's okay. It's okay. Forgive yourself. It's very easy to forget, but you can retune and remember your soul, your love, your life, whatever you want to see this as. And at any point in time, you can reconfigure your life based upon a heart-filled and a heart-fulfilled solution. And you can shift the identities, and you can express to others. You can express to self. Like, this is about saying, hey, you're safe, and being able to share your truth with one another, truth with yourself. You're safe here. And this kind of brings in a sense of recognizing that we can allow unconditional love to lead and allow it to be a focus of strength in our own journey, which means that we drop the judgments, we drop the fear, and we allow everyone to be just as they are, trigger or no trigger, free or not free. And it doesn't mean sit back and be the punching bag for harshness in the reality. But I feel like there is this loving hand of the universe, the loving hand of soul, the loving hand of God, that's always going to allow us to be on our journey. And I know at times I know for myself, I have to feel into this. I know I'm still working through a lot of this kind of like the religions, the philosophy, the theosophy thing, but I really do have to truly remember from within myself that there is a loving universe that supports me, regardless of what the collective dialogue is, and regardless of what interference shows up in the field from movies, televisions, personalities, direct or indirect manifestations through the collective consciousness, especially those that come from television and movies. Right? Because there has been really deeply ingrained subjugation, but once again, back to free will choice over mind, motive, a free will choice over our own belief system is that you can see things in a different way. Like, and that's a choice point that you can choose to see things in a completely new way as well. Yeah, exactly. My meaning is you can choose to dial in your level of difficulty. So, yeah. Back to basics has been where I'm at. Back to breathing, back to just regulating the nervous system, taking care of myself, meditating, tapping, yoga, calming the body down, releasing pressure, back to basics. It's really important. And I feel like we can get so much into the complications of life and society because that's what the mind has done through expansion and consciousness expansion. And I'm grateful for the geniuses of the world, but it can overcomplicate heart solutions. And so you can choose how hard or how easy you want to make life as well. And sometimes I don't know I'm making my life harder. I don't know. And that's a part of my unconsciousness becoming more conscious and aware of itself again. Right? Does anyone want a card? I know we saw Phil. I'm going to pull a card for Phil. All right. Pull a card. Phil, are you still in here? Yeah, Jen, I'll get you. Cool. Right on, brother. All right, brother. Messages for Phil. Ooh. Breathe. Ooh. This is definitely be at peace with all that you are. There's a sense of knowing that you can at any point neutralize anything in your reality, to find difference within indifference, to find balance, to find security. This is a moment to say you can let go. You can definitely step into that attainment of peace in your own journey. And overall, life is going really well. So definitely take that moment to pause, to relax, and to listen, and to reclaim your sense of inner peace. This is something that's a part of your own strength and empowerment right now, is that regardless of what's going on, you can bounce it back within. Keep strengthening that muscle of the within, the intuition, the within space, and your own peaceful resolution. It's important to you. And we have the dove, right, which brings in that level of purity. And so within this space is you being able to just really fully embody self-acceptance right now, okay? So self-acceptance is really, really important, especially for what is taking birth in your reality, that which still has yet to hatch. So a lot of this to me speaks upon the gestation, right? That which is brewing and stewing. Be peace with all that you are, be at peace with where you're going, but there is this really bouncing back within to reclaiming your own internal space, reclaiming your own internal peace, and bringing peace to that which is, the word coming through is unforgiven. I don't know where that's showing up, but perhaps there's things you're still holding on to or being held on in the field. I have to look at my own self in regards to this as well, as things that I haven't been able to fully forgive about life, about my journey. Bringing all that to peace. Right now, what wants to come through about forgiveness is about that which we're holding on to. And so sometimes we do have a clenched fist over things, right? And this is actually gifting us an opportunity to let go of something. Like, what have we allowed? I'm not going to just say for you, Phil, but overall, because this is just kind of a dialogue that's coming in from the universe, is what have we allowed to rent space in our being that clutters our mind, body, spirit? And how can we continue to purify and detoxify that? Right? So this in itself, like, forgiveness is all about us being able to let go of something that is having a great or profound effect on us. And that effect might be a part of what we're ready to release. so life can be less challenging or easier, or perhaps there is an obstacle, something we've held on to that we didn't know was really affecting us. And I know for myself, like I've had to do these things with identity as well. Yep. Yeah, yeah, and this is a big one because the split between worlds is still propagating that same and similar schism. Right? And at the point of bifurcation is also the moment of separation. So if we see bifurcation is still a separation, it's still a split from, is that like, yeah, we have been affected by density on many levels of our journey, but we can also awaken to the now, which is a part of back to where that nostalgia is becoming in that past, that those kinds of things. There's a lot even in our own Akashic memory that can get in the way. Now, I'm not saying don't be the inner library, be the library. But sometimes the dialogue and the story itself needs transcendence or it needs evolution. And a part of all of that, right? South node coming into north node is where is it taking you to? Where is it guiding you towards? Right. But all of this is essentially like the toolkit for life that gives you an opportunity to live a sustainable life here and now. So all of that past stuff has tools built within it that's giving you an opportunity to carry forward in your new journey. And it's safe to let go. It's safe to harmonize to the now and to build from here and to be from here. Right? But there is a sense of reclaiming your inner peace from that which you know, because all of that stuff, those wars, unwarranted opinions, is that perhaps you need to create some boundaries for yourself on what you allow in regards to truth as well. Because we all have freedom to share our own dialogue and our own journey, right? I too, like, I recognize that if there is ever a being who attaches to an intrusive thought, those that have lacked source intelligence or remembering their source in their own practicality must remember that they get in through intrusive thought, through opinion. So back to choosing, back to choice, is that I too have had to dialogue with people about these things, and to know that if there have been race wars, if there have been things like this, all of this is still playing in conflict, but the story itself is still built upon a story. And that current of energy or that waveform can have a change propagated, but I too have to like release myself from those things, which means that my conditioning, right, my smaller I, my bigger I have to meet, and the ego has to change everything I thought about those things. So, especially when it comes to things that we read about, right? Dialogues of wars, separation, and division. There you go. Is where you find wholeness and unity from within. And remember that space, because it too has its source spark, like its point of internal and eternal creation, always available from within you. So, yes, the separation is all a part of that density, how we come back to form. And then there is that moment of transcending and coming back into the eternal yes, 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 yes. The reclamation, the reclamation, the reclamation, the reclamation, the reclamation, the reclamation. You got this. You got it. You got it. You already know. You already know. You already know. So there's an eternal spot of creator and creation from within that activates that moment to be at peace with all that you are and to find stability from within that space. Keep doing that. You can and are attaining a new level of peace in your own journey, and be okay with that. Breath is going to be very important. Your breath work, keep doing the breath work. Keep doing the breath work. Keep clearing out all that stuff, right? And I feel like this maximizes on a greater solution in your overall well-being, which is how we harmonize in our own journey. But also, breath is a connection to creator, as you know. It's a dialogue with God. And within that is illuminating a space to free your mind in where you've been held in captivity. So this is about a sense of mental liberation, and being at peace with your own inner oracle, right? And that inner oracle is a part of that divine dialogue that you share with self and share with others. And it's an inner truth of peace and compassion that requires a sense of being stable in your own center and central self, right? Back to the dove. And to be at peace with what you know, to be at peace with life, and to be at peace where life is going to. I think more than anything, this is a reminder of how blessed you are and how much of a blessing life can be. Okay. I hope that helped, brother. Much love to you. I'm releasing consent from reading your energy field or from reading your cards, brother. Take your power back and release consent. There we go. All right. Jen's next, and then we'll do holy. All right, Jen. Are you still here? Yeah, man, not a problem. Be okay being a sweetheart, brother. All righty, Jen. All right. So Jen. Messages are coming over for Jen. Jen, first thing I would say is I would begin by releasing yourself from any soul contracts or agreements that no longer serve your greater good. Okay? So this is something that you can do internally. This dialogue always begins with choice. There are formal ways and rituals to do this in which you take out a pen and paper and you write it out, but command through and through in your innermost universe to release yourself from any soul contracts, agreements, binds, tether, ties, cords, and entities that no longer serve your greater good. And I speak to that because all of this is self-dialoguing with self, and I think it's going to make your life easier, especially so for myself, when I have lessons that I go through where my lessons are way too hard, I can ask for my soul to make this lesson easier. Which means that if I'm suffering greatly, if I'm losing resources, if I'm not getting to the best place, or I'm really, really, really getting to that point, it really does, because for me, it's not about not learning it or skipping, but it's about lessening the load on how I get there. And sometimes it might not happen as quick as we want to. I'm not going to say that for certain, but begin working with your innermost command towards releasing yourself from agreements and contracts that no longer serve your highest good. Because that's another choice, is that sometimes we've agreed to in this lifetime and other lifetimes to take part in things that aren't fun, aren't nice, and sometimes aren't necessary any longer. And you'll know when it's too much. And also too is it's not about just knowing it's going to happen, is it's have you learned, right? So if it's lack, if it's authority issues, if it's power struggles, right? Those are the things that you can go within and just go tune in. Jen, call in your guides, call in your spiritual team if you want to do that. If you choose to call in Archangel Michael to assist with clearing all those things, and go within and be okay, so let's say you have a contract with suffering. Can we ease up on this, right? Am I learning about self-love or ease or listening to my integrity or whatever it is, right? These are just examples. I'm not going to answer this for you because I want you to ask that question, but can kind of give you an opportunity to learn in a completely new way. because you can upgrade that experience for your journey. You can. And I'm still learning about some of mine too. So. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Nice. Very generous. Thank you, guys. If you want to donate, please feel free to click in the description box. I appreciate it. Thank you, Phil, for the donation. Appreciate you, brother. Okay, it's cool. Alrighty, Jen, messages for you. Messages for Jen. What's going forward for Jen's greater good? Wheel on the bus goes round and round, round and round, round and round. So this in itself is reminding me of the Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune is always about choice, right? So there are things in life that we are not in control of. But love is a reminder, find your center. Song by Trevor Hall, reminder. So this in itself is inviting you to look at like Wheel of Fortune in the tarot. And Wheel of Fortune talks about the precipice of change, right? Wheel of Fortune is things getting better or things getting worse. It is back to that pendulum. But this is reminding you that there are things in life that you are not in control of, right? But there's an innermost self that knows how to accept and work with life as life has its intrinsic spirals, right? It has its natural evolution process. So I want to state that your life is going somewhere if it doesn't feel like it does, but this dialogue has to do with threshold energy and with the outer perspective. So we have like, right, the local self, and then we have the step just outside, right, which might be the soul body learning. And then it might be the causal body, the mental body, emotional body. Like I'm working through the subtle bodies, but it's like there are layers of self that are going through evolution, just like life has its natural growth and flourishing. And this is more than just like metaphysics and the spirals of nature. This is more understanding that sometimes what we're working through in these evolutionary cycles is about our perspective over life and our foothold in the reality versus actually changing the reality. So some parts of life don't change because they're not meant to change, they're meant to evolve. But this in itself is reminding you about choice in the reality perpetuates the shift. It reminds you of Helm of Awe. Helm of Awe is, yes, it's like a Nordic shield and is protection, but it is also speaking of you're at the helm of your own ship, which means you're in control of your own destiny. So it's asking us that life is going to keep going no matter what. The wheels on the bus go round and round. Life has its ups and downs, which means that like no matter what, life is going to have its challenges. We're going to have its emotions. It's this big smorgasbord of contrast. It's this kind of like for better or worse, right? And in what we're essentially saying here, Jen, is that you have choice though on what you do in those experiences and what you're in direct command of. So a fortunate life and a fortunate outcome can occur for you through choice. Got to believe it, see it, do it, and embody it for it to occur. So Wheel of Fortune is speaking that there is a change that's occurring. There is a shift that's occurring. If you haven't seen it, it is occurring. But there is applied and implied action being asked by you and your uppermost self and your guides. That's going to get you to where you need to go. So it's just like life, it's this sense like life keeps rolling, roll with the punches, but like there is also a sense of doing in your own energetic field that can do in a completely new way. Like you don't have to be a punching bag for life. You don't have to be a whoopee cushion for the reality. Okay? So a part of this is creating the change and knowing, like this is about discernment, knowing what you're in control of, which means you're not in control of others. But you are in control of your actions, your reactions. Remembering how to not let life take you into the polarity drama trauma game. Like, just like I was mentioning to Phil, like there is this, like, you can get back to that innermost peace because at that center point of your world is where you find your truth. It's where you find that inner dialogue. It's where you find that love. It's where you find that innermost self. But your expansion begins from within. So this is about this expansion that's occurring. And it is occurring. But it is a part of something that begins at the innermost point of creation, which is the self, right? The little I, whatever we want to call it, and it is going to keep growing. So keep planting your seeds and intending and taking action because it will occur. Like growth and evolution is possible. It's going to occur, which means that like if you want a better life, you're going to get a better life. But there is a day-to-day knowing of the action steps you can get to do that for yourself, to create a miracle for your own journey. Because yes, miracles, I do believe life is a miracle. Miracles are granted. There are things that occur that are spontaneous, that are freaking awesome. Right? But like you can be the Vanna White of your own experience, to reveal the inner lettering, to solve the puzzle, to be a part of the solution, but to also be a part of the greater wish fulfillment. You do have a choice, and it's very empowering because like I have to remember for myself, like here's a really great example of a choice, but it doesn't feel comfortable. So I'm not going to negate that choices don't feel okay, but here's something I've been through. I've had moments where I'm like, dude, I need to leave my job. And at any point in time, I could go walk out of here. I could leave my RV, which I don't have my RV anymore, but like I could leave my RV, could leave my home, I could leave my job, and I can just go live out in the sticks and do that. That's actually my free will choice. If I'm really that uncomfortable, I don't have to stay. But there are repercussions to that actions in my own journey because of the life I'm choosing to live, which means like, yeah, I don't want to live on the street. I do want to have, like all those same like back to money and resources. But at the time, I had to remember that I had a choice. But I was also choosing to stay in the uncomfortable situation because I needed to learn about responsibility, right? I need to learn about how to work with others. I needed to start trusting life again. And I needed to stop believing that like, the Matrix was out to get me. Because like I lived that too. And I saw moments where I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Pause, reflect, reclaim my heart, reclaim my soul, reclaim my freedom, reclaim my power. Okay. It's okay. I know it's very easy to get caught up in that. It's inner, outer, not outer, inner. And so there are choices here. But I know that not every choice feels comfortable. And at some level, not every choice is right by us. But sometimes those choices are the things that liberate us. Like we have so many, for example, there's so many discussions that occur where you see these gentlemen that are like multimillionaires and they're like, I'm so unhappy. I need to leave my job. I need to leave my job. I need to leave my job. And they leave and they go for a lesser life and they feel so much more fulfilled. And on the precipice of the same pendulum swing is that like you too, thank you all. Yes, it is. And it is a paradigm. It is a paradigm. That's why there's no one size fits all to reality. Thank you, Holly. It is a paradigm because it is a belief system. But in this experience, like I too was believing in a sense of paradise that was just going to organically occur, and it was going to flash through some event, and I was going to flash into this realm in reality, and I was going to live the rest of my life heaven on earth. And when I lost my heaven on earth, I was like, what happened there? How did that happen? Right? And I went through the blame game and all this stuff. But just because I had a glimpse of heaven doesn't mean heaven exists. It's something I need to create from within. Right? And there are moments where I'm like, oh man, let's blame fucking COVID or let's blame all this stuff and what X, Y, or Z. Anyways, little dialogue. But at the end of the day, it's about day-to-day solutions offered and propagated by self and others that gives us an opportunity to get to better and better places. Right? So essentially, right, is that you can choose, and it doesn't mean it's not going to occur. Like there are things that can happen, and I want you to be aware of the space of freedom in which multiple avenues and pathways are available, which means multiple paradigms exist. And a part of that multiple kind of solution is knowing that like you can have all those beautiful things you want in life. And it doesn't have to show up in the cookie cutter way of doing that. And I speak to that because I too recognize that when I hit my point of surrender, I had the paint and canvas, and every way I painted and detailed life, it wasn't working out. And so I had to recognize I had to clear my lenses, my perspective, in the way I did. which meant that I wasn't doing life in an awareness that felt better for myself. So I had to start accepting some things about reality, some things about life, and I had to say I can't, which means the ego got to shift, the identity, the labels, all this stuff got to leave, and I got to allow something in, a greater harmonic intelligence to show me or to guide me. And this is where I started to pray again. And that too had its shift. I talked to people and they're like, remember, you are God. And it was this whole thing. I was like, well, what do I do then? But what I had to get to the point was I had to say I can't. And then as I started to reassemble the toolkit, I worked with others and I had inspiration and things that were helping me. And I still don't have it all figured out. I don't. And I'm okay with that. But a lot of this is like, hey, sweetie, can you get out of your own way? And let source in to recalibrate this inner compass. Because I'm not saying your compass is bad or faulty. Don't want to state that. But there are choices and options available that are going to be outside of your general scope of perspective. But we need to clear the way of that debris that says you can't, like a minefield, right? Is like to very Seven of Cups kind of an energy. Is that there are things that you can magnetically attract to create a different outcome for you. But you got to believe it. You got to secure that in your own reality. Message in a bottle. Okay, so perhaps the things that you need to hear about life, they're still triggers. That's okay. I almost want to say, like, your guides have been sharing things with you. You just don't like it. And I get it. That's completely okay. Whatever's been coming through organically for you is bringing up this exact conflict because it's gifting you an opportunity to, once again, that's the threshold work. We can see threshold as the place that assists you in going just beyond, just beyond, just beyond. It is the moment that transcends layers of self, right? So it can really start to expose what's happening underneath the hood, right? Yeah, listen, listen, Linda. Thank you. That's so funny. I do that. You do have a starting point now. I do the listen, Linda thing too, and I do it whenever I see Linda like, listen, Linda, listen, listen. But either way, that which is coming forward right now is like, so that, like, here's the thing, your greatest medicine right now might not feel good, but it's what's getting you to where you go. It's what's helping you to break through your cycles. It's what's helping you to evolve. So this is being okay with having some limitations in your journey. And I'm not saying that to criticize you or to put you down, Jen. Very human awareness. I too have these things. So I want you to be okay having what's going on, because acceptance is the number one thing. It's like acceptance is where we can let go. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do it alone. But what's coming forward is helping you to transcend the identity because it's getting you to solutions. It's not just identity, but it's helping you to, it's allowing you to shift out of the older belief system to get into the newer one. But that belief system is also an action of embodiment. So it's more than just thinking, it's doing. But there's a well-rounded and integrated awareness that there are layers of Jen that are still transcending, which, by the way, is still happening in the collective as well. So you're not alone in this. So don't feel like, oh, it's just Jen. You're not getting picked on, right? The universe loves you. It's just very much so one of those things that's helping to get rid of the limitations, right? Aww. And see, yeah. The one thing about strengthening is I want you to listen to your body, though, Jen. Because I don't want to label or judge strength. But there's something here about softening the edges of life that's really important. It doesn't mean don't work through what you have to work through. Because I know some people can believe, and I'm feeling this internally, so I'm working through this as well, is sometimes love can be like, it can kind of be the sugarcoat on things when we need to get to the nitty gritty. And I know what they're meaning energetically when this comes through. But softening is going to help to approach life in a different way. And that softening isn't about where the energetics come from right now. It's about getting the body out of trauma and survival. This work hard, play hard kind of a thing, which can be very contrasting. Because this isn't about bullying the body, sister. This is about your entire vessel, mind, body, having a more softer approach. And as a result, when you expand from that space, more opportunity aligns. And at the end of the day, what I hear is Jen wants an easier life. She wants a secure and an easier life. And if there's a really deeply ingrained patterning from culture that life needs to be hard or whatever that is, it's accepted, but it's not the final answer. You have another solution. There's another possibility, a third way. So softening is helping to ease and to be gentle with yourself, especially when you have a moment. Oh yeah, I had that trigger. Oh yeah, I had that thought. Okay. Getting real with where you're at is really important. I'm being asked to talk about something because it's about disassociation. And disassociation, this is why we have to be very, very, very aware. It's showing up right now. And I don't know who it's coming for, but I want to talk about disassociation. Because like a part of disassociation is not being able to accept life because we face some sort of trauma. And as a result, we split or separate and create an identity as a result of that. And that's something to go work with trauma therapy if you have DID or any of those things. But there are things about life that you can overcome. Healing and miracles are possible, but it's not overnight. Okay. And here's what I want to share is like I still have things that are deeply ingrained traumas, and I face them. I go, man, am I ever going to overcome this? And it requires me to be gentle with myself because there are things that were labels and diagnoses and doctor things that they said I was never going to be able to heal. And I became a miracle by knowing that I can overcome that. Like they told me that I was never going to be off of Suboxone, that I was always going to be on some sort of therapeutic opioid assistant tool for the rest of my life. I got off of it, right? And it's not easy to get off of like methadone and Suboxone, and I did it, and that's number one healing for myself. For you, very similar things is that there are things in reality and things about life that we can either accept or unaccept, and the more that you accept these things and work through them, life will get better. You got to believe it. And you increase your odds of having a better and better, more viable outcome for you the more you believe that and you take action on those things. But you're also not alone. There are resources available. So the moment of disassociation is the moment in which we don't accept reality and we start playing out in identities or stories or things like that, and it doesn't ground us. A part of this work is like the shamanic soul retrieval, and it's a step that we have to grieve and feel fully. And this is something that I feel like this level of work, if there's any form of disassociation work, right? Oh, good. Is continue to work with professionals in regards to that because I'm not a professional. And that level of trauma work you can overcome that trauma work. But also too is it's like, please don't keep expecting like that you have to do all these things on your own. There are really wonderful resources out there that can help us. And I too have had to let help in. And because I went through a very similar, just like this, right? The punishments of all those things and the institutions and stuff is that I know for myself, I'm not in the same world that I was in. So when I go in with my discernment and I listen to what's going on, I take what's for me and I leave the rest at home. But I too have had to be okay letting help in and letting those resources align. And there's nothing wrong with needing help. Nothing wrong with needing help. So either way is that which is being shown to you, gifted to you right now. It's bringing up things. These can also be communications with others. These can be trigger moments. These triggers are the point of evolution for you, sister. Awesome. These things that are they're touching points that are programs. And these are people that archetypally represent those who installed the buttons. Like my dad used to say, he goes, Corey, your mom triggers you because she's the one who installed the buttons, which means that, like, those kinds of things can occur. So, triggers are points of neutralizing the belief system, reframing, rewriting the narrative. And then also, too, is it's like, can you get to that place where, and I have a sister who's like this, can you get to that place where no one triggers you? You're not going to let people trigger you. You're going to stand with your inner authority and know that the healing and the trauma work and all this stuff is in your own hands, and people don't have to trigger you anymore. This is something that I'm still, it's kind of like, how do we get to that? But there are people that really do, they hold that level of inner authority in their inner journey where they're not going to let people trigger them anymore, which means no one has the power to bother you. You reclaim your inner peace, your inner space. No one's got that availability to do that. So within this, the space of dissociation is the space of reconnection to heal and to grieve, because that's what's being pointed out. When it comes to healing into spatial reconnection, is reconnecting to those parts of self that haven't accepted fully. And when they do, those parts that were in exile, when they come all the way home, when they come back to source and to love, and they recognize they're whole and healed and they can be heard, your compass is going to completely change. Because I had exiles. And those exiles were the parts of me that I labeled bad. And a really, really, really good book is No Bad Parts. It's a good therapy. Who did No Bad Parts? It's Partworks Therapy. Oh, it's Richard C. Schwartz. And it's a whole therapy style that I was working with, that I still work with. And I have the book, and there's workbooks and things like this. But essentially, there are meditations associated with that book that gives you an opportunity to reclaim your exiles. And those exiles are things and parts of ourselves that we said were bad because society said they were bad. And when we kick them out, sometimes those are the ones that are screaming for help. So, like, same thing, intrusive thoughts, negative versions of self. Like, when I moved back here, I had some exiles come back, and it was like life got really loud. But there were parts of me that were basically kind of like deeper ingrained belief systems and traumas that just wanted to be heard for a moment. They wanted to be loved. But they go about it in really weird ways, especially protector parts. Like, sometimes we have protector parts of ourselves that are basically, they're just trying to keep us healthy, trying to keep us whole, and trying to keep us sane. But they go about it in really bizarre ways because of how we had to get life done in a really unique way as a result of density. So we can forgive those parts, we can call them back, and we can work through those exiles and bring them back to love, bring them back to source, bring them back to wholeness, right? And allow them to be a part of the journey so they no longer have to dissociate. They no longer have to disconnect. You can reclaim the reconnection of those parts and work with them. But when it comes to like the grieving or the work and the healing, I would always recommend don't do that alone unless it's something that you feel ready for. I know for myself, sometimes I've done too much and I've needed help and I've needed assistance. So sometimes it's calling a friend, it's working with a counselor, working with a healer, working with a shadow worker, working with an alchemist, right? And those people help me to really alchemize what those shadows were, to come back to source, to come back to love, to come back into their full alignment, right? So just be aware that all of those things are, all those triggers are points of reconnectivity that are showing you painful spots of your own journey. And those are the things that need a lot of love right now. So allow yourself to be the solution and allow the healing, the reconnection, the belief system shift, whatever you want to call this in your own journey, allow it to be something that is unfolding for you and is evolving and is getting you to break through your own limitations. Okay. One more card. Ooh, there we go. Peace through expression. Right. So there is this sense that things are going to reopen up for you, because a lot of this is the reinvigoration of hope and peace in your own life path. Once again, all this conflict is bringing you back to a space where you can open up wider and you're going to express in a completely different way. So this also wants to say, be at peace with what you have to share with others, what you have to share about your journey, what you express. Because a lot of this is that if there's any form of inner clutter you need to release, Be okay releasing that, dropping the illusions, dropping the facade, getting real with yourself, and being okay in a peaceful expression of you. Because, like, for instance, that rage filled is also that, like, that rage, that adrenal response, right? The cortisol level is really high. That's the thing that is burning out the vessel, right? Like, it's not okay to be living with that much. So some of us in our journey are still very much so heavily addicted to drama. And sometimes peace can be boring, but it's the one thing we want. And so there is something for us to very much so greatly accept about peace. And it's that life, sometimes the easy life can be the boring life, especially if you're someone who lives off of extremes. So be okay learning what a peaceful life is. And wherever there has been this sense of life being very unstable or hypercritical, is like you can zoom out and have that more peaceful and loving approach. But I want you to be okay with your own personality, because I feel like here too is that there's an expression of you that doesn't have to be the bodhisattva, right? Like, I love the humanness of our experience that brings the quirks, it brings the hilarity, it brings the lightness, right? Like, I'm not saying exile the part of you that's quirky or like, I feel like there's a part of you that doesn't need to be so rigid within that. That there's something to highlight about you, Jen, and your personality that's really important to keep being and believing from within you. But also, it's like, be okay knowing that sometimes peace might be the thing that isn't as exciting, but it's the thing that helps you to open up and express in a completely new way. And it might be the exact medicine you're calling forward, but it's something to get used to, right? There you go. Awesome. Keep expressing that to the universe, and the universe will grant it, right? Your words hold power within that. And so I want to state really quickly, your words hold power. That what you say has power. A lot of that, tell your Capricorn that. You mean don't go to work? You are the sea goat, man. The sea goat. Oh, I'm learning. Almost fell back in my chair. Anyways, your words hold power and hold meaning. So I want you to just be very aware and conscious of what you say too, because your words hold details to what's going on as well. So pay attention. And I'm not saying be hyper vigilant with your words or overly concerned with your words, but be aware, because you're going to start to get very clear on the belief systems that come manifest through the reality of the things you share about yourself, you share about life, and the things that you express. Now, I'm not saying limit that, right? Or like, I'm not saying, but it's about being aware and conscious of those things, because those things hold a very significant meaning in your life that are tales in regards to the stories of your personal journey, that which needs to heal, and so on and so forth. And so just be aware of that. Be aware of that. And I hope that helps, Jay. So I'm going to close out all consent from reading your journey. Thank you. Sending you back to your own alignment. Thank you. So guys, when I say release consent, it's because when we do this, there's a consensual agreement that I'm gonna read for you. But then when I'm done, I close out the consent. So I can't access your energy, you can't access my energy, and as a result, you get back to that sense of fortitude in your journey. Consent's important. So we're gonna close out consent anytime we read for people. All right. All right, Holly, did you want a reading still? And then we'll close this out for the day. Unless there's anyone else in here that wanted a reading. Oh, wow. Yeah, and I have a sister. She says serotonin, not dopamine. And for me, it doesn't say I choose one chemical process over the other, but dopamine to me always was the quick hit of happiness, and serotonin was more the long term. So dopamine would be like the caffeine, the internet, right? The TV. And serotonin is like the slow and steady go for a walk, breathe out in nature. But thank you for sharing that, Holly. And so, Holly, you had a question about what? I also got to use the restroom, but I'll be okay. I got to pee. What was your question? It was up here. Oh, you're on the fence about taking on a new client. Any insight would be appreciated. Okay. All right, the resistance. Holly. Holly. That's one that she. Let's look at your resistance. Resistance to the client. What messages want to come forward for Holly? Take a bio break. All right. Okay. I'll be right back. 1 second. 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Alrighty. Yeah, Jen, I'm good. I'm glad you guys I'm glad everyone came in. How are we all doing? We're gonna get the blankets out. Why? Well, it's cold and because A, it's comfy, and I think it's safe to be comfy. I'm a downy kid right now. Alrighty. Okay. So we're obviously, it feels like right now, I'm seeing a lot of movement, transition, kind of like the space that I would call wormhole energy. It's definitely, it's moving through a library, moving through a holographic field. Kind of interesting. Very much so that kind of travel and transit kind of energy. With multiple places, spaces, and markers and time to move through. Alrighty, Holly! Holly. All right, messages for Holly in regards to this resistance to the client. And I'm going to clarify with the tarot too if we need it. So the tarot is available. Oracle's been speaking quite well. Some messages for Holly in regards to this resistance with this client. Ooh, no place like home and all that glitters. Ooh, there is still some illusion. You know there's some facade, and it feels like no place like home. Is this an escape thing? Is this someone who's looking for a home? You know, give me a moment here with no place like home. You know, no place like home right now is holding an unsurety. And I've learned that when I draw mental blanks, that's a part of what's being read right now, is very unsure. Okay, there's something about the inner container that is still holding illusion. And I'm saying that this person itself has something going on within, because if we see that, like, here's the home flashing all this golden light through, and what's that same representation? It's the illusion, right? So the thing is that this person is still working with masking. They're working with a sense of dream and reality that just doesn't suit. And so this is something that is a little bit more, yeah, it's Hollywood, it's flashy, it's glamour. And if this is something you repel, the question is can you accept that? And then Holly, are you still judgmental over those things? Because back to the inner experiences, your inner experience, your inner dwelling is very clear. So how do you feel sitting with someone who is still working through a lot of illusion? Is that something you can handle? Is that something that takes you away from your peaceful place? Is this something that you're like, nope, this is my own inner home, my own inner dwelling, and I do not have space for you in that. Claim it and accept it just as it is, right? And I speak to that because your own inner sanctity and your own inner sanctuary is equally as important. And I don't know quite what you do for a living, but what I'm stating is there's a sense here that there are others that are the right fit. Okay. Which means that I feel like you're a good solution to get real with this person, but is this person ready to get real with themselves? Makes sense? Treasure Island. Is this about money? Is this about money? Like, this helps me to look at whether or not. So, in your own internal value system, Holly, I want you to ask yourself, is this worth it? Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. The other thing that after you state that, Holly, the question that comes through is there a wealth of opportunity available in investing time and energy into this thing? As long as it's not in your personal detriment, there you go. As long as you are aware of setting a boundary in your regards to your own personal sacrifice, I think you're going to be okay. Now, I want to ask you, Holly, are you allowed to have healthy boundaries in what you do? Because I know sometimes we societally have had to sacrifice our boundaries because of boss, because of authority, because of institution, because of government, right? So I want to ask is do you have the right to define and or redefine your boundaries? Because if you are aware of your own personal sacrifice, then you can reclaim that part back to wholeness from within you, and you don't have to. But that also starts to propagate new outcome in life as well, right? She wants to go home from Siskiyou. She's in decline. It may not be the right thing for her or I. Okay. Based on morality, based on integrity, for both parties and all parties involved, is it the right thing for her? For her. Let's look at her. We'll look at her and you. Is it the right thing for her? Mm-hmm. So for her, Wheel of Fortune and Three of Swords, back to that personal choice, is it does feel like this is something that is hurting more than helping. And it's a part of her learning and part of her change. This is something that is showing and expressing something which needs to heal. So this to me would say not yet. And for you, I think it's very clear for you I don't see this as holding on. I think that this is a sense of you knowing your responsibility. Like, I'm not taking this Four of Pentacles as you're holding on to something near and dear to you. I feel like this is like very stable and secure and knowing and not glamorizing. Like, I would say too, if this is someone who's got like, and this is what's tough is I don't know how to quite express this, but sometimes, as we know, the things that sound the best aren't the best for us. And so, definitely, I'm seeing that in this experience, this is something that is still kind of a hurtful situation or something that's bringing in some pain. And I feel like you're very secure on that, which you know to be true, especially in regards to what's available. I would continue to keep trusting what you know to be true, Holly. And when I see Treasure Island, I'm hearing no man is an island, which means I don't know if you can work with others on this or you can pass the case off. But that's something I'm kind of stating is like there's a feeling here like you don't have to do it alone. And I feel like that releases a lot of pressure. I felt a little laughter. When I feel a little laughter when I'm sharing, there's a little bit of a pressure release from within that. Yeah. Okay. Clean it up. So this is about definitely whatever needs to clear with her and with you is something that needs to be cleansed. But you're very capable of whatever this is, especially in regards to like personal sacrifice, your own integrity, your own discernment, all of these things. Is that if this feels messy, you can clear this up. This too is also stating simplify. And I know, like, God, it's so much easier to say simplify, but I get it because I feel like it's a little bit more complicated within that. But trust that what you know to be true. I feel like things are a lot more direct and simple right now. Ooh, is whether okay, main blockage is whether there'll be the promised support. Should I take it off? So it's kind of a gamble. Oof. It's kind of a gamble. Page of Pentacles. This is a really very much so coming through saying this feels like investing time and energy. And I want to state is if you invest your time and energy that the support will be there, it will be there. This to me is very much so a part of this is going to be pages are always learning, right? Learning something new. It does feel like it's still very young, like it hasn't quite matured, right? Like when the apple hasn't ripened, it doesn't feel right. But there is this intelligence here that's stating that the belief system that you have actually supports and is what is caring for and creating this reality and the awareness. But also too is I'm kind of getting is it still needs time to ripen. So yes, you have an effect. Yes, you have an effect. We all have an effect in these outcomes. But a lot of this unsurety is it's still a little too soon to me. It needs some time to ripen. And that's something that I feel like you've got enough discernment to know about. Whew. There is some sort of attachment. So something hasn't been freed or liberated yet in regards to this. There's something that is very limiting. something that might be oppressive or suppressive. But once again, the hope is that this too can cleanse. The thing about the devil, it is very superficial. It is very, 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 um, you know, so I have to do this reframe really quick. Saturn, as Saturn is very limiting, Saturn's also very supporting, right? Like back to that container. Because there's two ways of how we look at what feeling secure in what we're doing is. And so a part of this is that I feel like there is a sense of evolving that's occurring in the way that this resource is working, and in regards to the way she sees things as well. And I feel like you taking the most secure and supportive approach is going to be the healthiest thing. Because I believe right now there's a Saturnian kind of evolution occurring when I see this. And I hope this helps. But this feels also quite societal, which is very much so accepting a lot of the way life is and life is done and rewriting and back to the effect. Yeah, not a problem. You have an effect in what is evolving here, especially in regards to safety, stability, and security. And this can be released easier than it is. And see, the thing that I'm sensing, which is tough, and this is something that I recognize a lot in these kinds of things, is sometimes it has felt like an uphill battle when we're coming through solutions in regards to business, corporation, things like this, but we all have an impact. And the reminder here is that you continue to have an impact here, but there is a sense of evolution that is occurring, especially in regards to what creates safety and stability for people overall, which is a part of what Saturn and that dad energy is kind of bringing in. It's bringing in that father of the container, right? That not all limitations are bad. Sometimes those are the things that keep us healthy. Those are the things that help us to receive support, right? It's not always a bad thing. And so this reframing of support being really important as well. And that's something that is a part of, I believe, her own sense of back to what's going on with the inner door, is that what you see and she sees might be different. And if you honor her, it can lead to more hurt or to more pain. And you're aware of that. And so it does feel like it's still very immature right now. But once again, back to that learning, is that this is something that's still being acquired, which means more solutions are showing up. There's more things adapting. There's more material resources, more money showing up. But a part of that is something that we release to time and release to the process to occur for us, if that makes sense. So Holly, I appreciate you. Releasing consent to read you. Releasing consent to access your energy field. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Thank you for being a part of the process. I hope this helped. Thank you. Alrighty. Does anyone else want a reading before we go? Kind of giggling. I have like an inner giggle somewhere. Somewhere I have an inner giggle happening. Hoping to transfigure some stuff. Before we go, did anyone else want a reading? Yeah, not a problem. All right, guys. Well, thank you for letting me. Thank you for doing this. I'm grateful I got to show up for a little bit today. We're gonna get back to a relaxing Sunday. and we'll go live again soon. There's still a lot in regards to processing what is next on the plate for Corey. I'm in the process of a move. I'm moving in the beginning of November over to California, so we will see a big change occurring, and so a part of this is just kind of letting that occur. If you guys need anything, you can go to foundersoflove.com. Please feel free. I have sessions available. Like I'm still going to be doing tarot readings for people. We'll be opening up more soon as well. Hopefully, this is all just about staying in integrity with the alignment of what to do, what to share, especially as I'm going through a lot more shifts than I can recognize. And so thank you guys for being patient with me, and thank you for showing up and continuing to support. It's nice, right? Because there was a concern for a little while that I was like, if I walk away, will people be there? and I appreciate the unconditionality. And so, yeah, not a problem. Not a problem. And so, being able to just have a space to show up, even if it's months or years between those alignments, it's nice to know that people are still here and people still support. So if you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. There are links in the description box. It's really appreciated. We're just going to keep continuing to flow with the changes and the shifts and all these things that are going on, and continue to enjoy life just as life is. All right. I love you guys. Much love and respect to all of you. We're going to go ahead and just close this out with an aho, with a samo to be, with a thank you, with an amen, and with a kind gesture to the universe of gratitude for all of us. And yeah, we'll leave it there. All right, guys. I will see you soon. Namaste.